Welcome to The Sit Down. I'm your host, Patrick Bet-David. You know, I often hear entrepreneurs tell me how much they can't stand politics and how dirty it is. They don't follow any of it. Yet, on April 15th, while they pay taxes, they complain about how much taxes they're paying. This is my point to you. Taxes equals politics. Politics equals taxes. And unless you follow politics, the less you can control how much taxes you're going to be paying in the future. And that's why in today's episode, I sit down with Ben Shapiro, with Jerry Springer, with Dennis Prager, as well as Yaron Brook, all brilliant minds, differing opinions, for you to be able to figure out what they think about, how they view Democrats and Republicans, what is the top line revenue we can afford to pay, what role does the government play for entrepreneurs, and then some other items that we cover. So you'll be able to make a decision for yourself based on these four brilliant minds. And to kick it off is the one and only Ben Shapiro. I'm half Armenian, half Assyrian.
Yeah.
And if you know about Armenians, Assyrians, or Middle Easterns, they typically vote Democrats.
Right.
Okay. And so you'll sit there and there's this saying that you'll hear. By the way, it's blacks, Hispanics, Armenian, Middle Easterns, a lot of them,
Jews.
by the way. Right? Jews, that's right.
Yeah.
That's very strange, by the way, with
Yeah,
Jews as well. Democrats care for people. Republicans care for their pockets. These
Right.
are sayings. By the way, here's the thing. It's so subtle and so effective that it sticks. Somebody says, you know what, my mom told me for years, always vote Democrat because they care for the people.
Right.
Republicans only care for the money.
Right.
So someone says that, what's your say to that?
And
What's
my
your
answer
take
to that is they obviously don't care for the people because the impact of their policies has been dramatically terrible. They're raking it in. Are you raking it in? Right? How's your life? Has your life dramatically improved because of the Democrats in your area you keep electing? If the answer is no, then maybe they don't care that much. So you notice what I'm not doing is saying, no, we do care, because once you engage in that conversation, somebody says, I don't care about you, you don't care about me, and you say, no, I really do, the conversation's already over, right? If you're in a relationship and your girlfriend says to you, you don't care about me anymore, you say, no, I really do care, the relationship's done, right? There's no way you're convincing her that you care. It's just not happening.
Yeah.
The only way that you can combat this politically is by saying, no, the people who you say are caring are actually not caring. Because the truth is that in politics, nobody really cares that much about you. Right? Okay, the Democrats don't care about you, the Republicans don't care about you, no one cares about you. I'm honest enough to say, listen, here's who I care about. I care about my immediate family, I care about my circle of friends, and then the rest of you, I want to leave you alone. Right? And that's good. It's good that I want to leave you alone. I don't care enough about you to try and stop you. I don't care enough about you to try and somehow infringe on your rights. I don't care enough about you to think I can control your life. My job is to get people out of your way and to get everybody else out of your way so you can do what you can do. And then it's your job to succeed, okay? Yeah. You're asking everybody else to solve your problems. I'm not going to solve your problems. You're going to solve your own problems. Democrats are lying to you when they say they're going to solve your problems. They're not. Republicans are lying to you when they say they're going to solve your problems.
Why do they like that, though? Why do they like that? Why is it that?
Most people like that. I mean, most people like the idea that somebody's going to come in and solve their problems for them. And if you haven't grown up in a community that suggests that it's your job to solve your own problems and suggests that, you know, where there have been 2 generations of heavy levels of dependence on government programs, then it's easy to equate that with caring. Say that to anybody. You say, I'm going to take away, you know, your Pell Grant to a bunch of college students, and they say, oh, that's terrible. How could you take away my Pell Grant? You don't care about me. Well, my answer is, you're right, I don't care about you, neither do the people who are giving you the Pell Grants. The people giving you the Pell Grants don't care about you either. They just want your vote. I care about you enough to say, listen, you're on your own. Go major in something that's going to make you some money. Right? Don't take out $120,000 in loan and go major in lesbian dance theory or something that ain't going to make any money.
It's not going to make a lot of money
right
now.
Exactly. Like, why don't you go out and get a loan from a private bank because they know they're going to get their money back, and that would actually be better for you, but that's your decision. Right? It's not my job to sponsor your life.
You ever heard the saying, you know, economy does better when Democrats are president?
Yeah, that. So statistically speaking, that's true, but it is also statistically speaking true that when Republicans are in Congress of late, the economy's done better, right? I mean, since 1994, you get the entire Clinton boom. So you can't really, it doesn't match up quite that easily. Right? Otherwise, you have to attribute the beginning of the economic downturn of 2008, 2009. You have to say that the first year was Obama's fault also. Like, when does an economy become the president's? First of all, I'm not of the opinion that policy, unless there's a heavy policy change, is really what drives the economy. I don't think that tax cuts necessarily make the economy boom or tax increases necessarily make the economy spiral down. I think there are long-term effects, but they're a lot more subtle than we pass a tax cut so the economy's booming, or we pass a tax increase, the economy immediately tanks. I don't think that macro government policy is usually large scale enough or immediate enough to make that sort of change.
So logic, emotion. Left votes more emotionally. Would you say right votes more logically?
I would say conservative thought is more logical than leftist thought. But as far as individuals voting, I think most people tend to vote emotionally, right and left.
So then based on what you're saying is, if a marketing agency wants to hire a marketer, you got to hire a Democrat instead of a Republican,
100%.
because Democrats
No
are better
question.
marketers than Republicans are.
No question. I mean, if it were just about policy, then I presume that most people would vote Republican because I think Republican policies work better. But if it's about what face you're presenting to the world, Republicans suck at this. Republicans are awful. Right? Democrats are constantly saying, again, it's we care, they don't care, they're bad people. It's always character attacks from the left. On the right, it's no, you see, it's Paul Ryan, and he's explaining why we need to restructure Social Security. Yeah, good luck with that. Democrats
that lasted 8 minutes.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
You got Joe Biden out there saying that Republicans want to put you all back in chains, and you have Paul Ryan saying we want to restructure your Social Security. Which one of those messages do you think is going to be more effective?
Who do you think is going to create more jobs? The government's going to create more jobs with $1 billion, or free enterprise is going to create more jobs?
Generally, well, let me just answer this.
I'm curious your answer here.
Oh, well, okay. Well, obviously, the economy has always done better under a Democratic president than Republican. So my point is that if you live in a society, not alone, but in a society, we all have to rely on each other. 99% of what we are, we had nothing to do with. You had nothing to do with whether you'd be born, to whom you'd be born, with what kind of brain you would have, with what kind of... you had nothing to do.
Yeah.
It's a gift.
I agree.
So whenever you get a gift under any moral culture, your job is to say thank you. And the way we say thank you is to say, I'm lucky. I have no more talent than anyone else in this business. And that's true. That's not me being disingenuous. I think I'm a nice guy and I'm reasonably bright, but I'm not talented. And I got lucky. But what about the guy that's picking up the garbage, driving the truck, doing the really hard, sweaty work? You think that guy's not working harder than I am? I come in here, I get my Starbucks, Jenna tells me what I need to do that day, and I go and do it. How tough is that?
I understand.
And we have a system where I make the money and the guy driving the truck doesn't. That's why we need strong unions. That's why we need a government that will provide for those kids that are born into a family that doesn't have those lucky breaks.
I wasn't born
How does that compare with...
but the question...
Well, who's going to get the bigger tax breaks?
But wait a minute.
Fix lives for people. That's why we got...
Do you think the government's going to fix it, or we the people are going to fix it?
We are the government in America. We are the government.
That's good, I agree.
So the government does fix it.
So we, the people that are paying the taxes... Okay.
Those are dues.
Last question for you.
Those are dues.
Last
Americans
question for you.
complaining about taxes.
You got a show, and I got to keep you on time because she's signaling me. So I want to keep you on time because you got a show to go to. Believe me, I wish we had 45 minutes more.
Good.
So not the Jerry today. Let's go back to Jerry. 1990 Jerry.
Yes.
Okay.
Damn, I was good looking.
I was good looking. At what point would you say? And I am hoping. You don't give me the CNN or Fox answer, which is give me the answer you want to give me and still not answer the question I'm asking. I'm really hoping to see what you're going to say to this. Okay. At what tax rate would you say, screw you, whatever state you're living in, and move to another state? At what tax rate? For instance, California right now is a 57.5% top line. I'm curious to know what you're going to say. Because
I'll give you the answer.
I really want to hear it.
I can't conceive of any realistic tax rate at my level. It is absurd, the tax breaks I get. Absurd.
So at what level would you say, above this, I think it's unfair to pay more than this much taxes?
Well, obviously.
But remember, not today, Jerry, 1990, Jerry. Jerry hasn't yet made a lot of money in 1990.
We have never, in my life in America, ever been anywhere close to a tax rate that would have any relevance in where I would decide to live.
So a number.
Never.
What number?
Ever. Well, I guess if they taxed you 95%.
Oh, so you'd be okay if we raise the taxes to 95%?
I don't know what life is like if you would be then in a totally
communistic, pretty much
or
nation.
Socialist country. Let me answer it this way. I'm not dodging the question. There is no tax rate that we've ever had in America that has been repressive. When we had a very high tax rate in the 70s and 80s, our economy went through the roof. So this nonsense about, boy, the taxes are they're high for rich people. Really? You know what? Who doesn't want to be rich? Let's say. If what are you complaining about? When rich people complain about taxes, I look at how we're living and I say, when I go to my friends, I live around a lot of wealthy people. And when they start complaining about it, I say, what? As you drive here in your beautiful cars, you have these beautiful homes, you have vacations every place. What are you complaining about? Isn't there something in your guilt feelings to say, yikes,
But
am
there's
I
a
lucky?
challenge to it.
You think the poor have a better break than rich people?
Jerry, that's why I asked
Be
1990.
poor for a while.
I've been poor for
Yeah.
most of my life. I was poor.
Wait, was it better? No.
Terrible.
Right.
A terrible.
Exactly
But that's
the
why-
point.
I
So
worked
quit
80 hours,
whining
but I
if
worked-
you're a rich person that your tax rate went up
I'm
a
not
little
whining
bit.
about. No, I'm not whining about that. Here's what I'm concerned about. Say I'm your son, and say you have 2 sons.
Yes.
I'm one of your sons.
Yeah.
Okay. Patrick Springer.
You'd be better looking if you were my son.
Okay. You name me Patrick Springer. Okay.
Yeah, I'd probably give
by
you
the
a
way,
Jewish name, but okay.
Jerry Springer Jr.
Yeah.
I'm your son. I love you. We're good friends.
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
We're at a point. I've made you proud. All this stuff.
Yeah.
And we have another one. Okay.
Yeah.
Our father, you've worked your tail off. I mean, you've sacrificed. You've been away. You've been on the road. Issues, health, you have busted your tail, and you today are worth 10 million.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
10 million that you worked for, not me. I don't work for that. You work. But wait a minute. Let me say this point. 10 million that you work for, right? I don't work for it. Okay. I take your money and I say, Dad, that money you made, I think I want to spend that money, $600,000 here, $300,000 here, $800,000 here, $200,000 here, $100,000 here, with no accountability. I didn't work for it. You work for it. This is the challenge. This is where I'm going with this. The challenge I'm going with this, America has become a very powerful, successful nation at the cost of the people that came prior to us. And I feel if the generations prior to us, as if you're my father, made all of that money, I think it's foolish for us to say, now that we have all this money, let's come out with all these different programs and let's give it away for free. I feel we're taking...
What's giving it away for
This is
free?
a tax question.
No, those are slanted words.
This is a tax question. You still didn't answer my question.
What
though.
is the question?
The question was, if it's taxes, what rate would you say I'm not paying above this?
I would say 95%. I'd say, hey, what are you doing?
So you would be okay.
I don't know. Why?
But
you
I
have
think-
to study exactly what that's. What I'm telling you, my answer, not dodging.
Have you studied Arthur Laffer and David and Christina
Yes,
Romer?
which is absolutely crazy and wrong, and the trickle-down doesn't work.
But you know who
because
David and
when you
Christina
give
Romer are from UC Berkeley.
when you give
Obama hired them.
corporations, I don't care who hired who. I'm just telling you that the trickle-down theory has never worked. And the reason it has never worked is if you give corporations a tremendous tax break, what do they do with it? They give it to their investors, okay? No one hires.
Come on,
hold on.
Jerry.
No one hires one more person than they need to, ever. You don't suddenly say, I need someone to mow my lawn, and one person could mow the lawn. But you know what? There are 4 kids in the neighborhood. I'm going to hire 5 kids to do it, and I'll pay each of them. Every company, every time, every 3 months, there's a corporate meeting to say, how can you cut expenses in your department? Every company does that.
I run a company.
Okay, so you do that. So you don't say, you know what? We don't need this much of a profit. I got an idea. Let's go out and hire more people. We don't need them to do anything, but let's just hire them.
That's of course they do that. You don't think companies do that?
That's why. So my question to you then is, you're admitting that when you get a huge tax break, you turn it into profits for your people. You don't suddenly go out and hire more people.
No,
That
we
is
hire
the
more
reason.
people. No, we hire more people.
To do what?
What do you mean to do what? We have so much more jobs to create. There's so many ways to become more. Just right now, I'll give you an idea. When the tax
Infrastructure would hire more people. Why don't you do that and do things that we actually need in this country? We need to fix the roads, the schools, the hospitals, the bridges. We need infrastructure.
That's why we pay
the water
30%
system,
taxes.
The water system.
That's why we pay 30%.
Stop worrying about your taxes.
But you
for
have to.
God's
It's a
sake.
mathematical
You
decision.
li-
It's like me being irresponsible with my finances.
You're not responsible if there are people left out in this country that aren't eating, that aren't going to decent schools, that aren't getting a decent life.
Let's create a better environment for that.
Every country on this planet is some combination of a little bit of capitalism and a little bit of socialism. There is a continuum. On the one end of the continuum, you have capitalism and 100% capitalism, and on the other end, socialism.
Which this doesn't work and that doesn't work.
Every country is somewhere in the middle.
Yes.
Even China has a little
I'm
bit
with
of
you.
capitalism. All right. So I'm saying
But I'm asking
move it over more. The tax
Ask
rate
for-
should
okay.
be, the
So-
tax rate should be, in answer to your question,
Yeah.
where the most people in our country can have a decent life. That's a fair tax system. But if there's a tax system which lets me have this privileged life and other people don't have it, that's not a tax system we should be proud of. That is a tax system that ought to be fixed.
You really believe that? So you're saying you would be okay
No,
at 95%?
I'm just saying it.
You really would be okay with 95%?
I don't know what the numbers. No, because I'm telling you, I don't know what that number is.
I, Dennis, am not right no matter what. Certain ideas are right no matter what. I don't care whether I'm right. I care whether I know what is right. There's a big difference.
Yeah.
My ego is not attached to my opinions. Zero. I am prepared to change my mind in a nanosecond, given I was for minimum wage. I was. I was for minimum wage when the New York Times was against it. The New York Times editorialized the right minimum wage is $0.00. But the New York Times has shifted from liberal to left. Now it would never agree with that. People should look that up. I and many others have written about when they advocated, they had an editorial, the right minimum wage, $0.00. More people are unemployed. You don't give an opening work for people who need work habits at a very early time in their life. Nobody lives on minimum wage the rest of their life. If they do, there's something wrong with their work ethic. They should rise. You should become a manager at a McDonald's after a certain number of years. You shouldn't be getting minimum wage. But I finally realized, oh my God, we're putting small businesses out of business because they work at such a small margin of profit. Who's going to hire all of these people? But the left doesn't care because they consider it a victory to have the government give more and more money to people. They think that it's a moral and beautiful thing to do. And I think except in the cases of where people literally cannot work, it is ruining their character and their life. So I changed my mind on it because of the evidence.
Are there a lot more things that can be changed with your mind today?
Yes, anything.
Okay.
You provide me better evidence, and I'll change my mind.
So,
I'm for capital punishment. If you convince me that we are executing innocent people,
Yep.
then we have to do a moratorium.
I was a registered Democrat. I voted Clinton, and I voted right, and then I went in the middle, and I'm independent, libertarian.
I voted for Jimmy Carter.
You voted for Jimmy Carter,
Yes, then I stopped being a Democrat.
That's why I'm in America. I mean, if there was no Jimmy Carter, I'd still be in Iran. I wouldn't be in America if there wasn't for Jimmy Carter. I'd probably still be in Iran, living there, doing something else with the Shah.
Yeah, but you would be doing well. It would be a much freer country.
To be in Iran than...
The Iran under the Shah
Of course it would
was
be a much-
infinitely morally superior.
No
Forget
doubt.
economically and socially
Yeah,
and politically.
no doubt about it. No doubt about it. His son and I had a conversation about it in D.C. the day I was with Ted Cruz. You having met so many different people on both sides. Chris Matthews is not stupid. Okay, Rachel Maddow's not dumb. Elizabeth Warren is not dumb. Now, they may be a little bit sensational.
There are very few dumb people.
That's the point. That
Dumb doesn't mean anything. Educated doesn't mean smart doesn't mean. The number of smart people who supported communism
enough, then
is in the millions.
But fair enough to go to the left, and if you talk about values and principles and all of that, there's a lot on the left.
There's no wisdom on the left. There are a lot of...
You can't say that.
I can say that.
You seriously think there's no wisdom on the left?
I don't say it. I
How is
know
that-
it. I lived it. I went to Columbia. My professors were brilliant and had almost no wisdom. They taught me that men and women are basically the same. You can be brilliant and believe that, but you can't be wise and believe that. The difference between men and women is huge.
So you're saying the left is smart, the right is wise?
Yes.
You're really saying that?
Yes, that's exact. No, not the people, the ideas. That's correct. Wisdom is there are wise liberals too, but there is no wisdom on the left. The left is a nihilistic, destructive force in every society it has touched. It has ruined our universities. It has ruined our arts. It has ruined our high schools. Everything. It's ruining football.
Why don't you define left and liberal?
Fine.
Let's do
I'll
that,
give
because you said there's a
example
difference.
after example.
Please. What
Fine.
is the simplify? Simplify in a way where sixth grader can understand.
No, I do. By the way, I believe I believe it's our obligation to make things as simple, not simplistic, as possible. Example: liberalism believes in that race is meaningless. that character is everything and skin color is nothing. The left believes that character is much less significant than skin color. The left believes in segregation racially. Liberals believe in integration racially. A liberal is opposed to a black dorm. A liberal is opposed to a black graduation at Harvard. A leftist is for it. They have nothing in common. The only thing that the left and liberals have in common, they have two things: belief in big government and hatred of the right. That is the only thing that leftism and liberalism have in common.
Okay, tell me who's a liberal and who's a left. Somebody that people know. Name.
Fine, I gave you Alan Dershowitz. He's a classic liberal. Okay, professor at Harvard Law School.
Who voted for Obama and probably would vote for Clinton.
And voted for Clinton.
Fair enough.
That is correct.
Who else would be a liberal?
Okay, there are many. My whole family, which people don't know, obviously. Publicly, there are very few public liberals today. This is a tragedy. Publicly, the Democratic Party, which was once liberal, is now left. Daniel Patrick Moynihan, these are names that will not be known to most of your viewers. Senator from New York, major intellectual, Democrat. He was the man who alerted the country to the crisis of the absence of the black father. And what was he called by the left? A racist. But you could say it as a Democrat and still be elected senator from New York. Not today. A Democrat who said that the biggest problem in black life is not racism, it is absence of fathers, could not be elected dog catcher in New York.
You got capitalism, you got socialism, you got communism, okay? Obviously, you got a bunch of other things in there that people want: Marxism, thisism, all this other isms that are out there. But let's just take the three: capitalism, socialism, communism. Communism, we're not even going to debate, because let's just set aside communism out there on the other side. It doesn't have a good track record, okay? I think there's only a couple things from Karl Marx books that I read that I sit down and say, these 2 points, I can actually buy it, that Karl Marx makes, fair enough. Everything else, I just can't buy into. Anything he's saying mathematically doesn't make sense to me. So question for you. You got capitalism, you got socialism. What's the difference? You know, if you were to simplify it, what is the difference between capitalism and socialism? And does America today, is it truly a capitalistic system that we have in America today?
We have a mixed economy. Well, every democracy is a mixed economy, where there's socialism and there's capitalism. But here is the most important question, since again, I think morally and rationally. I ask one question: what has lifted people out of poverty? Poverty is the human norm. There's been very little affluence in human history. There is a great deal of affluence today. By affluence, I mean able to have a roof over your head, pay your bills, have a car. I mean, that's affluent. To have a car and a place to live and an air conditioner, that's affluent, okay? In reality. Though everyone who has that has it because capitalism has lifted billions out of poverty. Socialism spends the money that capitalism creates.
Oh, so are
Socialism never creates wealth. Only capitalism creates wealth. Socialism is a way of spending the money that is created by capitalism.
Okay, so at what percentage is it just capitalism? I don't think there's a nation that's 100% capitalism, right? Is it fair to say that?
Of course, because
Zero.
I said earlier,
Right,
there have
because
to be
it's a
some
mixture
regulations.
So what is the number, in your opinion? I've done some research on what the number is.
I have a number for the Laffer curve. You know, at what point of
Yes.
taxation do revenues actually drop? I don't know what the number is of, because you can't make a number. This percent is capitalist, this percent is socialist. But the more private enterprise, the more free market, the more people are free. I'll give even medicine. This is not well known, and it should be. There is a branch of medicine that is not covered by insurance, so people have to pay cash. They're not insured. It has become one of the most lucrative areas of medicine, and the prices keep falling, and that is cosmetic surgery. The surgeons are making a lot of money, and the people are paying less, all because it's completely free. Insurance doesn't pay for a nose job. Insurance doesn't pay for a breast implant. This is all cosmetic.
Are you saying they should pay for breast implants?
No, not in the least. They shouldn't pay for almost anything. There should be insurance just the way there is in cars. Nobody is insured for a lube, an oil change. You are insured if you want to pay less for your insurance. You're only insured for a serious crash. That's what we should do for health insurance. You get cancer and you need chemotherapy, I need insurance. That's too expensive. Beyond that, it should be cash.
So let's go back to the question again. The question is, I'm going to ask you, just Dennis, let's not do the research, but I know David and Christina Romer from UC Berkeley did a research on at what percentage of taxes does the motivation to create more money go away.
I do believe that is more or less measurable. At what point people's ambition to work is shattered by taxation.
How do you feel about the way the U.S. government is set up?
I think originally the way it was set up is pretty good. I like it.
Which part of it? Which part do you like?
I like the fact that no one branch of the government has very much power. I like the fact that they're all a little impotent. I wish they were a little bit more impotent. You know, I like you have two houses. I like you have a president that's separate, an executive branch that's separate. I like the fact that you have a Supreme Court. I would like to have a stronger constitution that was clearer and more articulate and stronger on what individual rights mean, what the purpose of government is, and how do you actually enforce the role of government, which is the protection of individual rights. So I would rewrite the Constitution.
Can it be clearer than what it is today?
Yes,
I mean,
yes,
the way
much
it was
clearer.
written, it is.
Unfortunately, it could be much clearer. Partially because, remember, they wrote this in a long time ago, before capitalism really took off, before you had the institutions of capitalism, before you had the institutions, you could write it a lot clearer. For example, I'll give you an example. I believe there should be a complete separation of economics from politics. Politicians should have no power over the economy. Right?
Limited government, not even a limited government.
But let's just take in one realm, okay. In the realm of economics. I believe that you should have a Treasury Secretary other than, distribute to the different departments or whatever. So it's an accountant. You don't need a... but basically, the government has no regulatory role in the economy. It just doesn't intervene in the economy. It would be nice if, in addition to the separation of church and state that exists in the economy, in the Constitution, which is great, there was a separation of economy from state. Right? And there was a separation of science from state. And there was a separation of economics from state. So I would have 4 separations in the Constitution instead of just 1. And that would be clearer, and it would keep government in its place. Get out of the minds of my kids. Get out of trying to run doctrinaire schools
so you're
for my
for
children.
Homeschooling.
No, I'm for private schooling. I'm for private schools.
Okay.
Homeschooling is fine as an option, but I'm for private schools. Privatize the entire system. Why do we have private insurance companies? Although you're heavily regulated. Why do we have private insurance, but not private schools? Private schools are much more important, right? I want competition. I want innovation. I want choice. I want people to care about the education their kids get. I want to have innovation
so
there. I
in
want
your
to privatize.
world, there would be 100% deregulation.
Yeah.
100% deregulation.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying there wouldn't be laws, because in the world we live in today, there's confusion between regulations and law. Regulations are there to try to dictate to a business how to run its business. Often it's preventive law. It says in advance, this might be a problem, so don't do it, right? No, I want laws to exist on the books that
Who
protect
enforces it?
A police and a judicial system. So I'm not an anarchist, right? So I want laws on the books that protect property rights, that protect individual rights. So if I'm doing something that clearly harms you, whether it's poisoning you with dirty water or dirty air or something, then yeah, you have recourse against me and the government has recourse against me. But, the government just can't out of nowhere say, this is okay and that's banned and this is banned. No, there has to be proof. There has to be a system. There has to be a methodology to determine when something is banned. It has to be proven that it hurts somebody, that it's actually damaging to human life. Rights are being violated. So their job is to protect property rights, which is hard. It's not easy. So you need a government, you need a court system, you need a legislative branch, to figure out, for example, with the internet, what is property? How do you apply property to intellectual stuff? How do you apply property to the internet? These are complicated
You're
things.
simplifying it more than it may be easy to do that with 50,000 people in a country, but 330 million?
It's the other way around. The more complex the system is, the more important it is
I'm on
that
the
you
same
have
page with
freedom.
that. Yeah.
The more complexity you have,
Yes.
the more capitalism is important. I can centrally plan, probably, don't hold me to this. I don't think it's right, I don't think it's moral, but I could centrally plan a 50,000 person community and do okay. Could I centrally plan a 300 million people? No way. So even from the perspective...
That's my point.
Yeah, so the more complex, the less economic justification there is for any kind of planning, the more you want freedom, the more you want capitalism.
Right.
The bigger it is, the more this philosophy, in a sense, qua economics, works. So let's say your house burns down and you didn't buy insurance for whatever reason. And you're a nice guy, and you've got neighbors. What happened in America before the government stepped in and provided you with welfare and everything else? Your neighbors got together, and they said, he's a good guy, we like him, no fault of his own, he should have bought insurance, but okay. And we're gonna come together, we're gonna help him build a new house. But you shouldn't expect some guy, you live in Dallas, you shouldn't expect somebody in California to pay for your new house. If your neighbors want to help you, great. But what if you're a jerk, and your house burns down, and your neighbors actually hate you, and you're not worthy of their help? Then you're not going to get the help. So virtue is rewarded under capitalism. If you're a good person, if you're a nice person, then people will help you when you need that help. But it's not automatic.
You know, people often ask me, they say, Pat, why do you bring some guests you disagree with? Why don't you just bring people that believe in capitalism? And by the way, I get some hate mail and comments on me bringing guests that even I disagree with. This is my point to you. I grew up in a family, my mother said they were all communists. My dad said they believed in imperialism. By the way, this is absolute opposite political system. One believes tax everybody 100%, communism. The other believes leave us alone and don't tax us, let me get to work, right? So that's complete opposite. By the way, my parents 20 years later ended up getting a divorce because they became more divided because of how many times they talked about it, right? So in America, people say America's divided more than it's ever been before. We are divided. Who's telling us we're divided? You can see a lot of different stats that says America's more united than we've ever been before. But the people that are telling us that America's more divided than ever before are the people that make money from advertisers. Fox, CNN, MSNBC, and the rest. The more you and I are upset at the other side, if you're a Democrat, you hate Republicans, CNN makes money. If you're a Republican hating Democrats, Fox makes money. If there is more animosity against each other, we watch this stuff more. It's like Conor McGregor going against Mayweather. They promoted the fight so well as if you and I thought they hated each other, but they made $400 million because they brought eyeballs to pay-per-view. What does this have to do with business? This is my point to you. If you run a business, if you make all your decisions based on emotions, you'll be out of business very soon. If you run a business, if you run it based on data, trends, numbers, stats, facts, if you look at those things, then you say, oh, wow, look at this stuff. We are doing this. What is going on over here? Let me study this part of it. And then you can add your creativity to it. But you have to go to the data and source. So any one of these political people that talk and they give their opinions, we did a research and they said this. And they said that Republicans are bad, but they did the research right outside of UC Berkeley. I mean, you know that's already going to one side. And if somebody says, we did a research from Fox News that Republicans feel the Democrats being unfair to the president, but they did it outside of a big church in Houston, Lakewood with Joel, you know that's also being biased. So you got to take yourself out of the equation with the emotion side. Look at the data, look at the stats, and realize, you know, we're actually more united than we've ever been before. And I'm going to stop listening to these guys confuse me, and I'm going to bring everybody together so your family, your country, isn't one day getting a divorce. So look, having said that, if you watch one of these sit-downs and you said, I want to know more, the link to every single interview is going to be below. And for some of you that drive and you want to listen to Valuetainment, we also have the podcast that you can listen to while you're driving. The link will also be below. Go subscribe and you'll be able to listen to the episodes while you're driving your car. Again, thoughts, comments, anything you're thinking about from interviews, comment below. Thanks for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.